I've fallen into countless reading slumps over the years, but I've always got out of them eventually. So I'm going to teach you a couple of tips to help you get out of yours as well. But I'm also going to go into some secrets for why you might have stopped reading and why, for both you and I, it is so important that you pick up a book again. Books have always been ingrained in my life. When I was a kid, I remember being read the Harry Potter books in the bath. You know, those joyous moments when the idea of scrolling TikTok didn't exist, right? I'll admit this doesn't quite feel the same when you're 25. Yeah. Reading was introduced as something to enjoy, but unfortunately became something to tick off a list. A healthy habit, a self-improvement tool. And so, for a long time, I read a bunch of shit that, frankly, I wouldn't touch with a barge pole now. This was where my first real adult reading slump started. I was reading a bunch of self-help, get-rich-quick entrepreneurship manuals based on feelings of what I should do, not what I actually wanted to do. And so, I might start a book, but finishing it and starting another just wouldn't happen. This is your first type of slump, reading for the wrong reasons. But fortunately, it just takes one book to fix that. Find a book that brings back the right reason for you to read. It could be escapism, excitement, intrigue. For me, stories that relate to my interests or revisiting books and series that I know I love have done this. Some recommendations. An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. Creator related, which really worked for me and I just couldn't put it down. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. That was something that was sci-fi and a bit weird, but completely hooked me in, and I, again, couldn't stop reading. And then Orbital by Samantha Harvey, it was just about humans in space, and it's very existential and honestly just a beautiful book. For me, I reread Harry Potter, and my slump ended. Even then, though, last year was full of slumps. Frankly, life takes priority sometimes. It's busy and it's difficult, and it can make you forget not only how much you love a good story, but how much it can even heal that stress. This slump is more common for me, but one of the secrets is that it's okay that life gets in the way. If you're beating yourself up about not reading, then maybe it's time to reframe what makes reading important to you. And instead of seeing it as this productivity tool that you have to tick off, maybe take it as a decompression opportunity. Make it desirable, and just be nice to yourself. But often the most frustrating slump is the one driven by the wrong book. This has been my most recent. When a book is just not hitting, whether it's bad or not for you, or you just can't bring yourself to carry on. And this one, for some reason, seems to affect me the most. That's the strange thing about reading. It makes you feel so many things, and so a slump will secretly impact you much more than you might be thinking. With all three types of slump, I've realised it creates this enormous negative spiral in me when I think about the fact that I'm not reading consistently. It starts with the guilt. I convince myself that I'm wasting time on my phone, watching TV, whatever it may be. Reading has somehow become a productive activity I'm procrastinating around, doubling up the fact that I'm not doing it as much as I should be. So one day you pick up that shit book that you got 36 pages into and you try and crack on with it, and you're bored by page 46, so you stop again, and all that seems to go through your head is I can't do it. Then you realise you're having some sort of strange meltdown over a book you don't even like, and you feel like a failure for something that, frankly, you're not even remotely interested in. Why are you doing that, you donut? And so, secretly, you're putting all this importance, this pressure, into something so relaxing, so decompressing, and genuinely something that's there to enjoy. Here's another secret. It doesn't matter so much if you've stopped for a bit. You're not failing. But if you do want to pick it back up again, then this is what you do. For any slump, the first thing you need to do is get your enjoyment for reading back. If you look at any productivity or habit formation or any sort of tips around that, the one thing they will always tell you is to make it easy. And enjoying what you're doing is the easiest way to get something done consistently. So, take a book you've read before or a new book from an author you know you like, whether fiction or non-fiction, and read that to start with. Some more recommendations. All That Man Is by David Shalai. Tender, relatable, it hooks you in with shorter stories. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Just amazing storytelling about people and relationships through the lens of a gaming company, which I was really interested in. And then This Is Gonna Hurt by Adam Kay. All about being a doctor in the NHS, funny, witty, a bit grim, all told via diary-style entries that are really easy to read. The next thing you need to do is reframe how you're thinking about reading. When it becomes just another task, another thing to tick off your to-do list, it can feel like a burden, and it takes a lot of the fun out of reading books. And so you really need to think about it in a different way. Read for your enjoyment, your interest, and don't forget that there's still an enormous amount of value that comes from doing just that. I actually realised that most of the value I get from reading is to do with relating it back to my own experiences and relationships. It's really helped my emotional maturity, and it helps you to understand different cultures and perspectives. And it's not just some telling you how to make £1 million in a week. Finally, find a specific time in your day to read. Read before bed, or with your morning coffee. I tend to do the latter because it's a process that I follow. And I do it instead of scrolling on my phone. That will make it so much easier to revisit each day, and it will put your next slump off for much, much longer. But look, realistically, it might just take some time to find your enjoyment for reading again, and that's alright. You will get back to it, and as long as you learn from whatever has put you wrong in the past, it'll get easier and easier. So, just read. Whatever.